think he'd said in the past they'd always focused on a 5-year plan, but for now it's a 7-year plan. Somebody asked him, like, well, post Secret Wars, is Secret Wars going to be a reboot of the MCU? He said, no reboots, reset. And he said, we're going to keep with a singular timeline. Welcome back to the Break Room on Twitch and YouTube. Kevin Feige did a roundtable interview with a lot of Hollywood reporters, including the Hollywood Reporter, and he got into so much stuff. He touched on kind of every single Marvel topic. We are very excited to go line by line through his interview, and what we're going to call maybe line by line? Let's just call it a brand new format here at New Rockstars, the line by line.
Line by line.
Welcome back to the Break Room. Papa Marvel, you know, he's finally spilling the beans. He's been quiet for a minute, but Kevin Feige's out there doing interviews, and we're scooping those beans and making a delicious knowledge burrito. Maybe a ratatouille, maybe a
soup,
a chili.
Yeah.
You know, anything that
Ooh.
could have beans in it. We're gonna try to make all of it. Are there beans in gumbo?
I
think you
could be
Well, no, it's black eyed beans and gumbo, right?
That sounds right. That sounds right.
From New Orleans. We're from Mississippi.
And you know what?
we eat cats.
I just see any Cajun food in front of me and I eat it, and I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not always paying attention to the ingredients.
Look.
But it's Kevin Feige Roundtable Recap Show today. I'm Zach Huddleston, thrilled to be here. Joining me on my illustrious panel, she's a 7-year plan that involves replacing all TV shows with old episodes of Love Island. It's Jessica Clemons.
Now, you think it's the reality show Love Island. No, this is just me with all of my favorite suitors, which are all fictional characters. I make people dress up as Megatron and Optimus Prime.
I mean,
they bring you popcorn buckets instead of roses.
you know that a cosplay dating show has been pitched at some network.
The thing is, give it a little bit of time. It's like K-pop Demon Hunters. It took a very long time to find a studio for it because no one was ready for K-pop like this. But for cosplayers,
There's an audience.
There is a Damon Wayans like outfit waiting for someone.
Wait, you're saying from White Girls? Or
From White Girls.
Wait, did you say Damon Wayans?
I did say Damon Wayans. I meant Bruce Wayne.
Bruce Wayne. Yeah, Damian Wayne.
Damian Wayne.
Yeah.
I said Damon Wayne. That is true. That is true. I did say Damon.
I was trying to be like, what cosplay?
I was like, I guess Damon Wayans is really into cosplay. That makes sense.
And also I think I libeled him. He's one of the Wayans brothers who's not in White Chicks. So apologies to you, Damon
the one
Wayans.
that directed it.
They have their hands in all sorts of pies.
Okay, but then we haven't even finished the intros yet. She knows where Kang's body is buried. It's Gina Ippolito.
I assume it's near Jimmy Hoffa's.
Okay, yes.
It's somewhere. Hoffa and Kang.
Kevin Feige will speak the Kang name, but won't speak the Jonathan Majors name in
That's true.
interviews. Very interesting. We'll get into that and so much more. There's a lot about the future, the recent past, the strategy of Marvel, why we're not going to see Blade with a high top fade. That has a nice ring to it.
We might.
Yeah, he could be a modern.
Because also, if he's like old, he could still like do the look from back.
Yeah. He's still wearing.
It's retro.
He's still wearing his high school outfit or whatever. I love that. And even Kevin Feige's given his little review on Superman.
Yeah.
And other studios' projects. Real quick, we want to shout out our friends at nerdriot.shop bringing us fun merch like this Doom shirt. Gina's hot off the press Herbie shirt.
Literally just came in today.
Yeah. Now you can't. If you ordered today, you would probably not get it in time for the Fantastic Four premiere if you're going to go see it opening weekend. But you know what? You'd have it for the 4K Blu-ray release.
Or your second viewing in theaters.
That's right.
A lot of our fans go see twice.
That's right. Check out all the fun projects or products we have up there on nerdriot.shop. Okay, so Kevin Feige did a big interview on Friday. He welcomed a big gaggle of reporters to Marvel headquarters. I do love almost every article described. They have a conference room, and then off the conference room is a literal padlocked door, and on the other side of that door is a whiteboard with their 7-year plan on it. But like none of the reporters were allowed to see the whiteboard. And I also love the detail. Kevin Feige said, the whiteboard, like the projects on there are on magnets, so they can easily be moved around. Because you gotta shuffle things, things get canceled, things get moved. But he answered a lot of questions about upcoming projects. And so we're just kind of gonna go through some of the juicier details here, one by one. I'm gonna hear from you in the chat, you in the comments, about what you think about some of these. First off, even just the beginning part, they have a 7-year plan. And now, I think he'd said in the past they'd always focused on a 5-year plan, but for now it's a 7-year plan. You know, we know the next two and a half years
Yeah.
of Marvel, and really we know nothing beyond Secret Wars.
I think we got a little list if you scroll down.
Yes, this is I think a list that we put together. This was not what.
Yeah, this is sort of
Yes.
what we know and then what we guess.
What we're assuming based on
Yeah,
previous
yeah, yeah.
conversations. So like obviously next year, 2020, this year, Fantastic Four, and then
yeah.
as well as Eyes of Wakanda, Wonder Man. I think Marvel Zombies is also this year, but then that's 2025. 2026, we know at the end of the year we get Avengers Doomsday, and we get a Spider-Man movie in there, but that's not technically a Marvel project. We'll talk more about the Sony
But
stuff.
although we will see some other, Marvel characters
That's
in
right.
there, they're teasing
Yes.
them.
Yeah, and next year, live action, we get Daredevil Born Again Season 2. We get a Punisher special presentation. No word yet on if Vision Quest or there's going to be some other show.
Right.
We'll come back to that, but that's...
Presumably in there somewhere.
Yeah,
but
and
we
probably
don't
some
know.
more animation next year.
Yeah,
Maybe X-Men 97, maybe Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Who knows what'll get out. And then in 27, we're already talking about 2027. You know how old I feel? 2027, at the end of the year, we get Avengers Secret Wars. We know nothing else about 2027.
Right.
No other series or films or whatever. And then we know nothing beyond 2027. But we've assumed based on previous conversations, right, that the X-Men will start, the mutant franchise, whatever form that takes, will start after Secret Wars. So that's 2028 and beyond. We know, per this interview, Kevin Feige said that he has a timeline with Ryan Coogler for Black Panther 3. He didn't say what that timeline is, but that's good news.
Yeah, again, presumably after 2027.
Yeah, though, could that be in 28 before Secret Wars?
They could do a Black Widow situation where
Yeah.
it's in the past, but we're currently in a year ahead.
Yeah, I do think they could put it in 2028. Especially if they're working on it now, if they're working on the script now, if they're working on it, that wouldn't be out of the question.
I guess Jessica brings up a good point. We know Shuri and M'Baku and the Wakandans are going to be involved in the whole Doomsday Secret Wars thing, so then it would be weird for them to have a little side story in between those two movies.
It would be a little bit, and we do know that there's been talks with
Denzel?
Washington, and that feels like a character that could overshadow a lot of things.
Yeah.
So why would you want to simultaneously have Doomsday going on and then?
It's just a bottle episode. They're like, who drank all the milk for the cereal?
Yeah.
We gotta go to the grocery
Uncle.
store.
And it's Denzel Washington.
Denzel Washington's like, I drank all the milk.
It was me.
Though I love Jessica, that's a great point. We haven't heard any other details about this movie other than Ryan Coogler is presumably still writing and directing, and Denzel Washington is involved. Like, what if it is in the same energy as Eyes of Wakanda? What if it's set 200 years ago or something like that?
It could be. I think Ryan Coogler loves that stuff. He's talked about the Eyes of Wakanda and like how much they want to dive into that, and he wished he would have explored it more than what we got in that like little flashback scene with vibranium in the first movie. So I wouldn't be surprised at all. And I think that's kind of where you should put Denzel Washington. I think that's where he's strongest, even if he is a villain. Like that starting at the beginning of like where they were. I don't think Marvel ever thinks about the video games that align with the shows or in the movies, but with the Marvel, what is it? The 16. The one that's Black Panther and Captain America.
Yeah, it's set during World War II.
Yeah, I think
right?
it's only going to get more flavor. People are going to be more interested in the past of Wakanda when it was more than two nations.
And I will say, again, Feige didn't talk that much about Black Panther other than what we've already said in this interview, but he did mention some other things that could play into this theory. He said the thing he really loves about Fantastic Four is that you don't have to do any homework. Heading
It's a
into
clean
it.
slate.
Because they're in their own universe, right? Like there's not going to be any Marvel cameos. There was no Disney Plus series or anything like that. He said he really likes that, and he keeps saying this in interviews that he hates the homework era of Disney Plus, and like he kind of credits some of the financial underperformance of Thunderbolts because you felt like you had to have watched 3 different Disney Plus series heading into that. So it's like, I mean, a Black Panther that is set 200 years ago or 100 years in the future could be all in space. Well, the Wakandans do go to space in a lot of the comic books, right? Like, could be that where you don't even really have to know the other 2 Black Panther movies.
Yeah, I think that'd be smart for them to do. I also, that quote where he was like, these movies underperformed because they were characters from another series. I also think there's a little spin on that too, that it's more so like you guys also chose characters from the least performing ones.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to be connected to those characters from already stories that already had a rocky start to begin with. Like Falcon and the Winter Soldier had a rocky ass start. Like it was really hard, and then you're expecting us to like US Agent. And not even just because he's a bad guy, but just be like emotionally involved with him. Same with like Florence Pugh as Yelena for Black Widow. It had a very rocky start, and then we're supposed to like these characters. I think
if you're pitching it as like the bad news bears of the Marvel universe, you have to like have watched all of those bad news bears and been like, no, I like those bad news bears.
And I think that's really hard for them to have to deal with, because it's really like, I think the only one in my opinion that they were successful with is with Agatha. She was a brand new character introduced in WandaVision, and she got a series and people really liked it.
Yeah.
But I think with Black Panther it's going to be really hard because Chadwick Boseman is dead.
And even like Agatha, I think it was also like, oh, the reason that was so successful is because in the show, people were like, oh, I want more of this character. Like she wasn't in it so much that whereas like I don't know anyone who came out of like Falcon and Winter Soldier being like, you know who I want to see more of? US Agent.
Well, and the same goes for Ghost and Ant-Man and the Wasp. Like I think 2 was one of the least of everyone's favorite, and I was like, I like Ghost and Ant-Man and the Wasp, but it was also like no one was excited.
And you know, the thing I appreciate that I haven't heard other people voice as much that Feige said in this interview is he didn't say, I mean, he said Thunderbolts was great. I think we all agree that was a really good movie. The problem wasn't even in how the characters were used in the movie or the storytelling in the movie. The problem was the marketing of the movie. That when you see a billboard and it has those people and you're like, I don't recognize most of those people, you're less likely to go. As opposed to like, even if Thunderbolts, if all of those were brand new for that movie, do you think that would have been more attractive to people if they knew that all these are brand new characters that just been cast, as opposed to like they're from something else I don't remember?
That's my question to lay off that other question, is being like, how do you even fix that problem? Because you can't, we've been doing the MCU for so long, and I think one of the hardest thing is to like give flowers to the comics, stay true for their audience, stay canon, but also stay innovative. And they can't stay innovative if they're sticking to what they already have been doing for so long. So I think choosing the Thunderbolts was a great idea, but then I'm also like, how are we supposed to get bigger and better if you guys keep asking for like a Doctor Strange 3 or a Thor 5 or a Spider-Man 7?
Because you need new characters, because you know, Chris Hemsworth doesn't want to play that role forever, and we're going to come back to
same with Elizabeth Olsen.
Same with Elizabeth Olsen or whatever, or also like then you get an Ant-Man 3 and you're no longer happy with that franchise too, right? Like just doing sequels is also not the answer. You need both. And I want to come back to, speaking of that, I'm going to jump around this interview. There's no reason to go through it linearly. He had this interesting quote that I really want to hear your opinions on. Somebody asked him, like, well, post Secret Wars, is Secret Wars going to be a reboot of the MCU? Some people have speculated. We know it might launch, you know. He did say that there will be a new X-Men cast, and we'll talk about that in a moment, right? It's not going to, poor old Ian McKellen doesn't have to do it till he's 120, right? Like, they're going to give us some new...
I think he has no problem with doing
I mean, he'll outlive us all.
I want him to stop. Yes. I want him to go back to the stage.
We will get new, probably younger actors. But he said, he kind of really pinged on the term reboot. He said, no reboots, reset, not a reboot. And he said, we're going to keep with a singular timeline. Now, let's interpret what that means. When he says no reboot, just a reset, what do you think he means by that?
God, it's so hard to tell, because like I would think that he would want to be able to say like, okay, here we go from, you know, whatever it is, 2025 onward, these movies, they're still going to be the characters, you know, there's still going to be Captain America, there's still going to be Iron Man, there's still going to be Black Widow, they're just not going to be the same actors, and either that's because we've gone to a whole new universe where it's not the 616, it's not the universe we've known, in which case their 2025 might look like our 1990, whatever it is. Or, you know, something is done in the past, slightly tweaked, and then you can say like, oh, well, because Doom did this one thing, we have a different Captain America. Because Doom did this one thing, we have a different Black Widow. I think the problem is that like what comics fans bump on and what movie fans bump on is not the same thing. Like I think if you try and change Captain America away from Steve Rogers, comics fans are gonna actually it to death, and they're gonna be like, well, first it was Steve Rogers, and then in the comics it was this and this. And you don't want to get into that fray. So I think it would make sense if he kept the characters the same. If he said, like, Natasha Romanoff is Black Widow, but now it's just a different actor.
Scarlett Johansson Jr.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. To say, instead of reboot, to say reset just makes it feel like what we're used to seeing for, like, especially the X-Men or the mutants might be a little rippled differently. I think the X gene will still be there, but I think it'll be more about, I don't know, something. It won't be as political as X-Men. We're used to X-Men. Maybe that's my.
Do you think it'll be the same characters? You think it'll still be?
I think
Professor
they're gonna.
X and,
Yeah, I think it's gonna be Professor. You gotta have Professor X. I
Yeah.
think they want to touch on, like, the fan favorites, of course, but I do think this is the time where they bring in a bunch of people we never got to really get to see.
Yeah.
But they're probably gonna bring in Kitty Pryde.
Like, also don't have that. Yeah, don't have a visceral reaction to, like. There's been several different versions of Colossus, but I think if they brought in a new Colossus actor, no one would be like, "Hey, wait a minute, we all know and love that other Colossus actor."
Can anybody name the previous Colossus actor?
Well, there were like
off the top
3
of their
of
head?
them because there's one from Deadpool.
Well, that guy was all CGI, but there was a live action one in the OG X-Men.
Yeah.
Here's
Well, those
my-
are different universes anyway, so it's
That's
like
right.
we're gonna get our version of the Colossus anyways.
Yeah.
Here's my take on the reset versus reboot, and I think this is, like, also looking backwards. This is obviously what they were trying to do with Brave New World. Is, like, the timeline stays the same. The event, the Battle of New York, Endgame, going forward, all of those will still be in the history books. They're not going to rewrite any of that history or reboot it or anything like that. I don't think they want to do, like, an Iron Man or a Captain America origin story.
Yeah.
They just want to pass those off to a new character, right? Like the way Sam took over the Shield, the way maybe Riri or an Amadeus Cho or somebody else becomes Iron Man in the next time we see an Iron Man movie. Like, Tony Stark still existed, he's still dead.
Yeah.
There will just be a new person who wears a suit with rockets and can fly around and fight.
I mean,
right?
the other option is you just do the Batman of it. Like, no one, like, Michael Keaton was Batman, Val Kilmer was Batman.
Sure.
Like, those were never
Well-
like, oh, I'm explaining why I look different now. It was just a new.
Though,
Unfortunately, the times just cannot catch up.
Yeah.
Yes, and I think, like, the interesting thing there, sure, when passing from Keaton to Kilmer to Clooney, we never redid the origin story. Now, they weren't also the exact same universe. It wasn't like Val Kilmer was referencing things from Keaton's movie.
Right. It was a
Unlike
full reboot.
When we flip over to Bale, that's a full reboot. When we
Yeah.
flip over to Pattinson, that's a full reboot.
Yeah.
Those are new universes, right? I think Feige in this interview also kept referencing James Bond. He's like, when other studios do it, right? Like, Sean Connery just flips over to Roger Moore or whoever took over immediately after Sean Connery, right? They don't, it's neither, like, an exact same timeline, but they also don't reboot in that, like, you don't redo Goldfinger again now that you have Roger Moore,
but
right?
the characters' names are still money penny.
Same,
They're still,
yes,
but
and
they're
sometimes the
different
supporting actors stay the same too, right? Like
Right.
the same multiple Bond actors had the same Q actor,
that's true,
right?
that's true.
Like or the same Moneypenny actor. Then eventually those actors swap out too, but they never really acknowledge it until Daniel Craig, when that was kind of like a full reboot.
Yeah.
But and they told some of the old stories again. So, like, I think that's what he's saying.
Is he saying the Marvel Cinematic Universe reset reboot, or is he saying that the Avengers and the Mutant Saga are going to be a reset reboot?
I think he's saying the MCU overall.
Oh, okay. Because I'm like, I also think the MCU does reset. It was first the Avengers, but then it was the multiverse saga, and then and Thanos was a part of it. Like, it always changes. I think that's what the Mutant Saga is that reset. We're just going into the X-Men. We'll still hear from the new Avengers and the old Avengers, because I think in the wide spectrum of things, it's like there still has to be some policies and limitations. So there's still going to be, like, government that oversees a lot of things.
Yeah.
And if the new Avengers are more focused under Val, but then the old Avengers are more closer to the government, then we have the mutants that are just their own thing.
Yeah.
And then we're going to be focusing on the mutants. And I think that's the big part for Marvel. They're like, we are going to get a lot of money dealing with just the mutants right now.
Yeah.
And I think, like, and obviously the Avengers aren't going anywhere too, right? Like, we're still going to get every 5 years, we'll get an Avengers movie, right? Like, I just don't think they're not going to go back and redo the Infinity Saga.
Yeah, right.
Is that would be a reboot in my eyes. Whereas a reset is like, okay, the lineup changes, maybe, like, Yelena is the Black Widow now, right? But and so Florence Pugh is playing that role. Like, there's no new character that will be Natasha Romanoff, to your point, right? Like,
yeah, I think, but even to that degree, they don't want to replace their characters. I think Yelena still has that like additional part where she's the leader, where Black Widow never was really the leader.
Yeah.
And I think it only works for like Black Widow and Yelena. I feel like the version of Tony Stark that people are trying to say is Ironheart is not the same thing. She has a magical suit now. She might be actually in hell. I think even like the version of Doctor Strange would technically be America Chavez learning from Kamar-Taj. She's not our Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
So I think they're still trying to establish these characters as their own characters. We just might not see their stories again. I think like that's strong with like Drax and Nebula and those people. I think we'll see Star-Lord occasionally, especially if we introduce Kitty Pryde. But I think we're gonna not see like a lot of people ever again.
yeah. And I guess just the question is, a 7-year plan, so that's through 2032. We'll all be dead from 4 years into that. But
by tomorrow.
But the idea that Chris Hemsworth, just to grab one person, is he going to still be Thor in 2032? Now, your gut reaction is like, no, that's so far out. Why would he still want to do that? I mean, he'll probably in 2032 he'll probably be younger than Hugh Jackman is today.
I mean,
so
that
you
is
never
true.
know. You never know the miracles of modern science and exercise, right? But
Stem cells.
like. If yes, and stem cells.
He's gonna inject
all
himself
the
with
stem
his
cells.
kid's blood.
That good Asgardian stem cell. But like, even if after Secret Wars, Hemsworth's like, that was my final hurrah. I'm good. I'm done with this. Like, are they gonna go from 28 to 32 with nobody playing the role of Thor?
I think it's fine if there isn't.
I think it's fine if there isn't. I will say that, like, in mythology, that is one of the easiest characters to recreate, because, like, if anyone watched like or read American Gods, it's like when a god is killed, like at the end you have. And like he's sort of like regenerated as a younger version of himself. Yeah. So if he does die, it is very easy just to be like, oh, the thunder god is dead, but he like regenerates as a younger version.
What's that I hear in the distance? Oh, the kid from Adolescence got jacked? Okay, let's go!
It's hard to do it with it's hard to do it with them because he's gonna go to Valhalla when he dies.
Right.
But there's still, I think we saw all the gods. Now we're getting into like the demons. And that's more reason to be like, yeah, Thor might be gone. This is also, remember, we've had Thor for so long. A Thor 5, I don't think is necessary.
Yeah.
I mean, they might still do it regardless because they still have Hercules just wandering around out there.
Also, you could mine the X-Men for years.
I mean,
exactly. That's what I'm like,
will.
What are you
but
talking
they're
about?
also, again, they're not going to quit doing
of course.
Doctor Strange, Thor, Iron Man, right? Like Captain America.
I think they're going to push them somewhere else, but I do think again, we now have 2 Avengers, and because of Marvel's Avengers Campus at Disneyland, I think they're very afraid of putting capital A Avengers on so many things in the future.
Yeah.
I think you don't want to dilute, and he says that in the interview. He's like, it was more about there's too much and we're trying to dilute it, or like, I forget the words.
He does only want to do like 1 or 2 shows a year, or 1 or 2 movies a year.
Let's talk about that. And Brian, I'm sorry, I think I broke the teleprompter, or at least I clicked on the wrong thing. Would you mind helping a little bit with, can you come look at the
Grandpa.
Sorry,
Grandpa.
But,
Fix it for us.
I know, like, when the Breakroom first started, we shot it in our actual break room where we would record episodes in between, throwing down some food. We were always so busy and on the go. And you know what? A lot of that food, I can attest, was not very good. Bad leftovers, other weird food we slapped together. But now that we're sponsored by Factor, quick meals are also great meals. Factor has chef-made gourmet meals that make eating deliciously and eating well easy. They're dietitian approved and ready to heat and eat in 2 minutes. Factor can help you feel your best all day long with wholesome smoothies, breakfasts, grab and go snacks, and more add-ons. Factor takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success. You get to skip all the shopping and chopping and instead get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. Factor meals are always fresh, never frozen, and there are over 35 meals to choose from per week, including options like keto, calorie smart, vegan, and veggie. I'm a breakfast for every meal kind of guy. So for lunch the other day, I had a potato, bacon, and egg breakfast skillet. super filling. Those crispy little bacon bits were really good. And the potatoes and the eggs and the sharp cheddar cheese just kind of made everything come together real nice. Truly delicious. Hit the spot. And it was ready in only 2 minutes. Get started at factormeals.com/breakroom50off and use code breakroom50off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. That's code breakroom50off at factormeals.com/breakroom50off for 50% off plus free shipping. factormeals.com/breakroom50off. Angel Genorio, here in Puerto Rico, they will bring 60 buckets in the Caribbean cinemas, one specific theater. You guys only get 60 popcorn buckets total?
Or he's saying just in one of the theaters there's 60 and everyone goes.
Even that feels like a low number. How many do you think?
They said, hey, look, I'm on a couple of Discord threads. I'm a buckethead. I'm a buckethead. But they said in the Discord, they were like, there's only certain theaters are just getting 2 cases. If 2 cases are 30 each, that's great.
Sure.
I'm nervous about ours because we got 3 theaters. So I'm like, does each theater get two cases? Because I'll go to the AMC 6.
Yeah.
I'll go to the Town Center 8. But
Yeah.
but I don't know. I'm
Go a day before, slip a guy at 20 and be like, put aside one of those popcorn buckets.
You know what's
for me.
crazy? Last movie I saw, I went to them. I said, "When are you guys getting those buckets in?" The guy said, "I don't know what you're talking about." I said, "Are you lying to me?
Yeah, call his ass out.
Are you lying to me right now? Because I'm gonna come in. Every bucket that I know is people running for, I get there at 10 a.m. and I go, hey, I just need to go pick up a bucket, and they let me through, and I just go buy the bucket, and I walk out, and then I drive here to the office.
That's a boss move. That's
smart.
a boss move.
I go
smart.
at 10.
Do you
Don't
know
everyone
who I
do
am?
that.
Do you know who I am?
I'm the girl that collects the buckets.
Seattle KO.
Hey,
Maybe
baby.
more of Jessica's friends. Do you think Kevin Feige shed a tear when watching Superman as a proud papa to James Gunn, or shed a tear in fear they have competition now?
He said, it should have been me.
I think, you know, like a little bit of like inside baseball, like, you know, it's not a competition because it's never a bad thing when superhero movies do
when
well.
they're both, because we all win.
Like if it had tanked, that would have meant meetings at Marvel where everyone was like, hey, is this genre dead? And then Feige would have had to justify it.
Well,
so the fact that it did well.
Yes, I think he loves it because, like, it's doing good. It's not doing incredible. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Also, if it came out and broke every Marvel record ever, I think then he might be more panicked. But he's like, that's a really good movie from a guy I've worked with. It shows that people will go see good comic book movies. That's good for my business.
I would also argue that like Marvel is gonna see a bump on Gunn movies because of this. Because I think that it's he has a certain style. People are like, oh, there's an aspect of him with his dad and his parents and blah blah blah. That reminds me of Guardians of the Galaxy. Ooh, I should really rewatch Guardians of the Galaxy. What a great thing. Mm-hmm. I think it's gonna give them a bump. I think anytime a movie in the same genre as what you do does well, it's only good news for
even
Feige.
if it wasn't, because it's like that's what Ryan Coogler doing Sinners made people go, wait, yeah, Black Panther was amazing. Let me go back and rewatch that.
Exactly.
Let me go back and watch that.
Lou Bangs with a $5 super chat on YouTube. Thank you, Lou Bangs. Now that Fantastic Four, X-Men, and Avengers will all be together, will the big team-up movie still be Avengers, or could we get an Ultimate Alliance title?
I think they want to. That's the thing. Is that whatever comes before that colon or that comma is the name, and I think they want to throw mutants. They want to do X-Men so bad. They want to title that. They want to title that X-Men so bad.
So this would be like the next Avengers movie after Secret Wars.
Yeah.
If that comes in 2030 or whatever year, 2033, whatever, right? Like, certainly if they've successfully launched the X-Men, which we know they're going to do everything they can to, there's going to be a Wolverine, a Cyclops, a Storm, a something in that Avengers movie, regardless of whether it's a multiversal or a whatever.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to, in the same way that like we expect Spider-Man to show up in an Avengers movie, we would expect some of those big X-Men.
But I think this question is saying like, will the X-Men be big enough to hold down their own franchise? So it's not like Avengers : X-Men. It's like X-Men : something. Which obviously, like, there were so many. I mean, our channel broke down every X-Men movie, from X-Men, like all of them. Days of Future Past. Jessica and I were both talking about how we think
New Mutants.
New Mutants is underrated. Like by that point, people had sort of fallen out of love with them, and they were like, "Oh, these are new characters." But go back and watch it; it's great. It's a great like Halloween movie. I think the X-Men are strong enough to lead a franchise for
sure.
many years on their own.
Absolutely, we know we're gonna get X-Men movies, and those are inherently team-up movies. But I think what Lou Bangs is saying is like, so when the X-Men and the Avengers team up, is it still called an Avengers movie?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it'll depend on how well those X-Men movies do.
And I think that movie is gonna be Doomsday. I think what you're asking for is just gonna have they're gonna team up in Doomsday, and then when we get into the Mutant Saga, they're gonna be working towards X-Men and Young X-Men, or even the freaking Marvel Champions if they want to.
I would even wager that like at the end of Doomsday, it'll be like the X-Men will return in.
I can see that. I still think they're kind of afraid of using the Avengers name too much,
right?
Because after a while, you're gonna dilute it. And if you keep diluting it by giving us Avengers to the third power, Avengers to the fourth power, it's going to start not being the same capital A Avengers.
Again, the year's 2035. It's the next Avengers movie. It's coming out. It's Mole Man Dynasty or whatever, right?
Avengers Mole Man Dynasty.
Mole Man Mayhem.
Nice.
Is it just Avengers : Mole Man Mayhem or whatever? And like on the poster, all of the Avengers, all of the X-Men.
Yeah.
Would you be, in the most respectful way, how excited, I guess, are you for that? Because we've seen our Avengers fight so often.
Yeah.
And then when I see a storm come in, I'm going to be more excited for something I haven't seen than something I've been used to.
But isn't it kind of exciting that it's like, oh, this Avengers has Storm and Beast in it? I feel like how I feel with the Thunderbolts, kind of. Like how they're going to inevitably merge. We saw the back, or I don't know if we're supposed to talk about that photo that's on that set. But we know that there's going to be merging teams. Yes. And I'm more excited about the people I haven't seen than I am about Joaquin Torres or Sam. And that's also just me. I understand that people have connections to these certain characters, because if Wanda shows up in Vision out of nowhere to go help Magic and Jubilee, I'd be like, give me all of that. And I think to your point, now that like, you know, the OG Avengers will never reform in the same way. Like we'll never see Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man and Chris Evans as Captain America in an Avengers movie. Whatever a new Avengers formulation, and like we know Doomsday and Secret Wars is going to have 1 million characters in it, so it's not like anybody's going to be like, that's the 6 Avengers. It's going to be like, so every Marvel character is going to be in those movies. Do we also need some time with just the Avengers?
Think about that money.
Sure.
I do think it'll depend entirely on who they can get back, how hyped they are, and like if there is a strong set of X-Men movies before them, they might just be like, you know what, let's just focus on this. Let's not mess it up. Let's just keep going strong with X-Men until people get tired of it.
Respectfully, there's only so many people with the super soldier serum going against actual mutants, and I'll be like, you know what? I don't care about the super soldier serum anymore.
I mean, it is like that scene in when we saw the Avengers go up against Wanda, and they were like, oh shit, we're overwhelmed.
Oh, like, she's making us see our worst nightmares.
It's like once they see like actual mutants, they're gonna be like, I'm pretty strong, but someone's blowing up my brain from the inside.
And I think that's a good pitch. Give us 8-10 solid years of just X-Men franchise and like other MCU / Avengers stuff, and then after that whole, have it feel like when we got to Infinity War and Endgame, we've spent so much time with each of these separately, it's going to feel so special. It's true, if in every Captain America or Iron Man or Thor movie there's 3 X-Men, that doesn't feel that much fun, right?
It doesn't feel as fun. And again, there's still certain characters like Miss Marvel and Namor and people that have been alluded to having mutant genes that can still play into this. And I think vice versa. I keep using Magic because Magic is literally one of my favorite characters, that I'm like, that Magic character can literally live in limbo, and we can talk about that in terms to Mephisto. And that bigger part of the MCU, they can still all interconnect. It's a shared universe. They gotta share at some point.
I mean, even if you think about like one of the most powerful characters we've seen among the Avengers so far is Captain Marvel. And like when Captain Marvel comes across Rogue in the X-Men, she's in a coma. Yeah. She ends up in a coma from a mutant touching her.
These mutants.
So I mean, like you could open that mutant world and we would be eating.
It would be so grand. Dude. I'm so excited.
Here's just since we're on the X-Men topic, David M with a super chat on YouTube. Thank you, David M. Reset Reboot. Just kind of on that topic. I think X-Men 97 will be a world with cameos and side story stuff like Cap and Logan versus Hydra, or Spider-Man popping in like the 90s animated crossovers.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, and I think...
Which they've already done in season 1. That was what we got in season 1.
Yeah, the Silver Samurai and Spider-Man and
I mean,
like
you
whatever.
saw Black Panther in there too.
Yes,
yeah.
and Captain America showed up. So maybe that's a nice, David M's comment there is a nice place to pivot here into series. Now, most of this interview was talking about kind of the last couple of releases and the next couple of theatrical releases, though he was wearing a Wonder Man hat. He did not really get into Wonder Man or any of the animated shows, but it seems like he did specifically call out, we're probably just gonna see one live action Disney Plus series in the MCU per year.
Yeah.
And he seemed to hint that like he mentioned, for instance, that the events of Thunderbolts will not have any impact or be acknowledged in Daredevil Born Again Season 2. Nobody in the Daredevil world will be like, that was weird when the Depression shadow came over all of us, right?
Yeah,
Like,
and I had to relive my wish.
And we were forced to stay in the city because he wouldn't let us leave.
I mean, a whole book, Joanna Robinson needs to do an update to her MCU book because, like,
100.
right, like the history of those original Netflix shows,
Yeah.
the whole Defenders universe, was created outside of the MCU, and in fact, it was in a totally separate department from Kevin Feige's department, right?
Yeah.
Then, as Kevin Feige had more and more success, got a little bit more powerful, he kind of scooped that up under his umbrella. They killed off that as a separate department, and now there's really only one department at Marvel with kind of sub-departments for animation,
which
TV,
is also
and whatever.
the case for like the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show, Inhumans.
Yeah, the
like,
stuff on
they were-
ABC as well.
Even though each of those, like when Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. started, their intention was that it was part of the universe, which was why Samuel L. Jackson shows up in the pilot and in the season 1 finale where he's like, here's why we can't tell the other Avengers you're alive, Coulson, kind of thing.
But it was very much, they felt like separate things for the most part, right? And especially the Netflix stuff, right? Though they would acknowledge a Battle of New York, Spider-Man was never swinging through Luke Cage or whatever, right? And the thinking was, Feige wanted it all to be under the same umbrella, and he wanted more control over all of it. And now in this interview, it feels like he might have some regrets about that. It sounds like he wants more separate stuff. He wants, Daredevil Born Again to not have to worry about the movie that just came out or the movie that's about to come out. He wants these to be able to be kind of independent stories that can just do a really nice job of telling their story and highlighting their characters.
Yeah. Well, I've been talking about this for a while because I think that Spider-Man is going to be a sort of a street level thing, and same with Daredevil. I think like you need those sort of, when everything is a world-ending event, like the impact gets less and less and less. It's like The Boy Who Cried Wolf, like, oh, this is gonna destroy the world. And it's like, well, it didn't, like, yay, but there's no end to the amount of stories that you can tell when it's like, hey, there's a crime lord messing up my neighborhood. We don't need to call in Iron Man. We don't need to call in this person. But like this, like Kingpin has a stranglehold on the neighborhood, which is affecting me and my loved ones in this 5-block radius.
Yeah.
Like, I think that that's probably what he wants. He wants those stories to be able to live on their own, so that you don't have every show being like, oh, everyone got sucked into hell. How do we get out of hell? Like, you want just some where it's like, oh man, this guy's shaking down local business owners for rent. Like, let's go take him out.
It's why Kingpin's such a great villain for Daredevil, right?
Exactly.
He's never going to destroy the world, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, even in the comics, he's doing things like he's doing the anti-mutant sort of like agenda and the anti-vigilante agenda and things like that. Yeah. But even that is like, you're telling the story of a local politician trying to get bills passed. It's still not like, no more vigilantes, and also let's kill them all around the world, and then aliens will come and destroy us because we have no more protectors. Like,
just on that note, Super Samurai 1, love your name. It's Super S-U-P-A-H, which I appreciate I tried to overpronounce it. Had an interesting super chat here. Thank you. How will they do the whole society-hating mutants thing when everybody loves the Avengers?
Yeah,
that is fascinating.
That's a
and
great
obviously,
question.
we've already seen 2 full universes of X-Men stories, right? And like, years have passed. We're in a different place in 2025, and we'll certainly be in a different place in 2028 than we were in 99 or in whatever 2012 or whatever First Class came out. Yeah, what is your take on that?
I think we're still gonna, it's not gonna be an origin story, but we're still gonna see us warm up to their hearts.
Yeah.
And I think we kind of need to see them warm up to their hearts because there's still people that are nervous about even Daredevil on the street. And he's still technically a vigilante that's helping people. I think people are still confused at what a vigilante is and what a supervillain is, but they're also still very wary of the people that have superpowers. Ghost was still a bad person that destroyed San Francisco. A U.S. agent still murdered someone. People are aware of those situations, and now they're on a team that's supposed to protect the world.
And also, we have seen them turn against the Avengers before.
They're not always super popular.
Right. But I think that like the distinction, I think with good writing, this distinction will be there, but it is there. One is like, oh, Captain America is popular because that is someone created by the US government. It allows you to like be patriotic and blah. But if you see someone who has a mutation in their genes that makes them superior to you, it's a slight distinction, but it's sort of like, you know, what we just saw in Superman where Lex was like, oh, you know, like I work hard for all these years, and then this guy comes down and he's like, first of all, mutants sometimes look vastly different. They sound different. Some of them have like gills and different color skin and blah, 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 blah. I think that's a harder pill to swallow than like, hey, we gave this American soldier a serum.
Also, Gina, I'm not sure. People not liking somebody because they have different colored skin? Where are you getting this?
That was the whole magic of what people liked about X-Men, which is what people I think are a little bit nervous about whether or not Disney's going to talk about.
Yes.
Because it's a lot of social injustice based off of what they look like, but what they do. And that was like the whole point of why we all liked it was because the mapping to real world issues.
And to that, so like Feige did touch on this, like somebody kind of asked like, you know, about the whole... I forget the exact way this was parsed, but he was kind of like, you know, when people bring up like, you know, their recent stretch of films and series, some of which have not been as successful, have been the most diverse as far as the people, the characters centered in them, certainly more diverse than like the Phase 1 stories. And you know, he's like, when people ask me, you know, we've been thinking about our universe that we're building way before the terms woke and DEI were like, you know, in the center of public discourse as like, this is a universe that is like real. It's not Gotham or Metropolis, it's New York, it's San Francisco. It's like, though there is an Asgard and a Wakanda and there's some fake places, like these exist in our reality. And so like the characters also exist in our reality and are like faced with the challenges of our reality and reflect all the different types of people in our reality. I think like that's something they will certainly continue to bring into, I mean, the X-Men, like, you know what it makes me think too? Obviously, when the X-Men were created in the comic books, it was a parable for civil rights. It was a parable for the LGBTQ world. And like, neither of those movements are stopping, right? They haven't fixed everything, right? Like, I think, there's still plenty of challenges. And I wonder too, just him mentioning like that it's gonna be a young cast. And like Eric has speculated that like, that kind of confirms it will be like more maybe set at the school, maybe even, you know, First Class was a pretty young cast, but like obviously the OG X-Men were mostly grown folks, you know what I mean? Wolverine and Storm were like adults, it was more focused on the teacher level, but if they focus more on the student level, boy, you know, the trans metaphor is a very potent one right now where it's like, I don't like that you are rejecting me, your parents, you should be born and look like me, but instead you have wings, or you know, you can teleport or whatever. And like,
damn wings.
And like, we can't be letting these kids teleport. Like, they're not. That's not a natural thing, right? Like, I mean, those metaphors are still so powerful.
I think they're gonna keep doing that, and I think it's also because that's in the most respectful way America or whoever's watching it can stomach that still. Because that situation is under the guise that they're still probably white students. And that it's still, and I love X-Men, don't get me wrong. I just have my quarrels when it's like, oh, in media, we're going to talk about the problem in metaphors instead of actually addressing the problems because we just can't, we're too afraid. So I don't know, I would love to see even a trans mutant. I'm just nervous about whether Disney will allow it.
I mean, people lost their damn mind when someone was like, hey, Morph is non-binary. It's like, what did you think that character was? They can literally change their gender at the like, I'm not, maybe you didn't think of it in those terms, but like even in the original, Morph was changed into women and men and this. So, I mean, I should say a section of people lost their mind. Even the original like showrunners were like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. They were changing genders at will.
I think like that'll be an interesting dance for Disney/Marvel to do
live
when they
action
launch,
too,
and it's live action, and they need these to be incredibly popular. Now, that doesn't mean you kowtow to the worst sections of your audience, right? And again, especially with like a franchise that its whole like personality and like themes and everything are built around these ideas. You can't abandon those, but it will be interesting to see how they navigate it.
I do think a lot of it comes down to the writing, because if you look at something like Black Panther, when there's a discussion of like oh, I think we should close ourselves off to the rest of the world and not, like expose ourselves to this. And then someone else being like, no, we need to like open ourselves up to the rest of the world. Like, I think that those conversations were already being had before the rise of Trumpism and the rise of, people weaponizing the term woke for their own agenda. Like, I think that you already saw that. I mean, go back and watch the original X-Men, like even the trilogy and the New Mutants. It was like mental health and queerness and this and that. Like, it was all in there. It was just done in a way that was like a little bit more subversive.
It was a dude with claws. And
right. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, like, or go back and do what we did, which was like binge watch the original animated series, where there's literally like an episode in Days of Future Past where like Wolverine and Storm are dating, and someone's like, fuck you guys, none of that in here. And they're like, and Storm's like, you're still racist? Like, that's what's going on here? Like,
I can make lightning appear, and you're worried about race.
You're worried about us dating.
They said, I don't care that you can make a hurricane take out my entire city. I won't let you kiss in front of me.
Why are you holding his hand?
I mean, in that way, and to Jessica's point, like, yes, we still need stories told about all these communities and these people directly tackling these. But in that way, like, you could put the capes on and be able to tell stories in a way that telling them directly maybe is not as palatable for certain people, right?
Yeah. I mean, Sinners. There you go.
Sinners. Yeah. I think they're going to, or at least I'm hoping they do. I hope they still have the same mapping and mirroring of like what's happening in society, because that's what made me like X-Men. I think that's what made a lot of minorities love X-Men, other than like, they're just badass as hell. But they do have more liberties with the animated for sure. And the animation, they're like, we can go whatever we want. And that's on Brad Winterbaum.
Let him take the blame.
Let Brad do
for
it.
the letters that we get, the angry letters.
And I guess just we've gone down rabbit holes and up molehills and everything. But it is interesting, him mentioning, Feige threw out some numbers, and these are not that different from numbers that Bob Iger has said in previous like investor calls and stuff like that. But one live action series a year is kind of what they're aiming for. And then up to 3 movies a year, which, I mean, the next 2 years we're only getting 1. So like, I'll believe it when I see it, but we did get 3 this year, partly because Brave New World was delayed.
Yeah, and also I think add to that, because this is, like, I'm as a lot of I'm a TV writer, so I have meetings for certain shows and things like that for staffing on them, and I've had Marvel animation meetings, I've had Marvel, this is TV live action, and the animation people said the same thing. They said like, we want basically like 1 to 2 animated shows a year, so that we can focus on those and focus on making them great, and also like giving them the marketing that they deserve. So you might only get like 1 What If a year, 1 TV, like it could just be like a Vision Quest, a What If, and then 1 or 2 movies.
We're not getting any more What Ifs, but you're saying the equivalent, an 8 episode, an X-Men 97, a Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Well, and I wonder too, if they say that, but then they get a little funky with what that means, in that, like, technically Daredevil Born Again Season 2, we get however many episodes of that, and we get a feature-length Punisher special presentation.
Right. I don't
Do
think
we start getting that? Like they, like Marvel Zombies is kind of a spin-off of What If. Do we maybe start getting, it's like a season and a half of
like
this?
the I Am Groot sort of like shorts in there, and are you doing that?
I mean, it saves them a little bit of money. I'm still thinking they're going to push those numbers a little bit, only because, and I keep going to the big picture of things. I'm like, you guys still have Star Wars. You guys still have your normal Disney programming, and I don't know how much money we're going to keep siphoning or like giving to different groups.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then it's especially because Marvel still has their umbrella. It's the MCU, Marvel's animation, Marvel television, Spotlight, like it keeps going. So I'm like, I think you guys are going to push those numbers.
And like, if they were all doing great, I think they'd be pumping them out, right? If Echo was the biggest show of 2023 or whatever year it came out, right? Like, we'd be on season 3 of that by now, and they wouldn't be pulling back. But they've had some struggles, and I want to use that to pivot into like budget, because obviously Disney overall makes tons of content. You mentioned Star Wars; they own all of Fox, so all of the Predators and the Aliens, and they make tons of content. And it's more just like how big a slice is Marvel within that content pie. And there's some interesting nuggets in this interview. Kevin Feige mentioned that he used the term grinded, which is a fun term. They've grinded down the budgets of their recent releases, and that the movies released since 2023 are 30% cheaper than the movies that came out, I assume, between 2020 and 2023. Especially COVID drove up the cost of a lot of movies because everybody has to be tested, and you can't have more than this many people in a room and stuff like that. And a lot of those things have been rolled back, but 30% cheaper, that is very significant, especially considering that time period includes Captain America: Brave New World that had to have a lot of reshoots.
Right.
That includes Deadpool and Wolverine that those are two older, well-established movie star guys that they ain't working cheap.
Right.
That's the more expensive period includes movies like The Marvels, which, however you feel about that movie, you don't watch that and you're like, that's the most expensive Marvel movie that's ever been made.
It kind of makes sense when you think about it, because it's like that movie takes place in space. And you have a shit ton of extras in green skin. Yeah. And you got a bunch of people on the ship. And then you got a bunch of CGI cats. And then you got all these things. And I'm like, that makes sense because it's so expensive. And they were in every location. Yeah. They were everywhere. They had to go to a planet and dance too.
And what does this mean for us, the fans? None of us give a shit how much money. We want to see great movies. Who cares if it costs $300 million or $240 million or whatever? But I will say, from a fan point of view, the one potential positive there, if they have their costs somewhat under control, they can afford to make more of these movies, or they can make these movies in a way that they don't have to make quite as much money to be considered a success. There's been a lot of discourse. Thunderbolts was really well reviewed. People love Thunderbolts. It didn't make that much money, and people are like, oh no, that's a bad sign for Marvel making good movies. And it's like, well, if you can make movies cheap enough, maybe they don't have to make $1 billion. They can make $500 million, they can make $600 million, and so be a success, and so we still get more of them.
Also, I think Thunderbolts, that, you can watch that movie and be like, oh, there's not a huge amount of CGI. Yeah. There's not the highest paid person that was probably maybe Florence Pugh, who's famous, but not Scarlett Johansson at the height of her fame famous. So even their quotes are definitely not going to be what Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr., Scarlett Johansson's quotes. So you can see that movie and be like, yes, I believe that this is 30% cheaper because they don't have big stars and they don't have big CGI.
Jake Schreier isn't making Taika Waititi money.
Right.
Almost certainly, right? That movie had a lot of practical effects, maybe not, which can be expensive, but I think I don't mind this. When movies cost $300 million to make, they have to make $1 billion. Right. But if you can get those costs down, then you can. The other thing, and this pivots into one of the other big points I want to talk about. It also affords you to be able to make a wider variety of movies, because there's certain movies, famously, horror movies do well at the box office, but horror movies don't make $1 billion.
Right, but they're also notoriously low budget.
They usually cost, the Conjuring movies print money, because they only cost $45 million to make.
Werewolf by Night cost nothing.
That's right.
It was one set and it was fun as hell.
Which, if Marvel's only going to put out one movie a year, they need that movie to make $1 billion. But if they can get the cost down, and maybe they can have a more diverse schedule, we see with DC, they're making this Clayface movie with an actor nobody's ever heard of, right? That's not a A-list character, but they're going to make it cheap, and they're going to steer into the horror, make it legitimate scary. I think it's going to be R-rated, right? And they can afford to do that because it won't need to make that much money at the box office. So I like this. And obviously we've been talking about Blade for years now, and Feige did talk about Blade. Real quickly, he said that they're still working on it. Mahershala Ali is still attached. It's going to be set in modern times. And I think his quote was, you don't want to just put Mahershala in a leather outfit and have him start killing vampires. And I was like, you don't?
That's exactly all I wanted for the last 6 years.
Don't overthink it.
Yeah, don't. Please, whatever you do, do not overthink this. If you do not have that man killing people with those metal stakes that he shoots out of his gun,
listen,
nah.
I want to watch him at a blood rave. Yes, his leather. I want a little drop of blood to fall on some dude's face, and I want to watch him freak out.
You can make him cooler for sure, 100%. I still need to get the gaudiness. I need to get that big shit.
I don't think you can make him cooler. Go back and watch Blade. That man was cool as hell.
He was cool as hell. Hey,
everyone's
always trying to ice skate uphill.
That's it. But and then he said this fascinating thing, and now Feige, this was not an old school Hall H type thing where he's rolling out their lineup coming or announcing any new phases. In fact, he purposely didn't mention any new projects, and he's very vague about those. But somebody specifically asked him, like, hey, like Shang-Chi was the last movie you put out that was like about one character, really, and wasn't a team-up movie or like combinations of known characters or whatever. Are you going to get back to that? And he said, yeah, we appreciate that kind of storytelling. And like, we are working on something right now that is along those lines. And it's in a genre we haven't seen in a while.
It's Nova.
Yeah.
Right?
I think.
It's gotta be Nova.
But the thing is that a genre that we haven't seen?
If we do it like Star Trek Discovery.
But isn't that kind of like, to me, that genre is sci-fi.
That's what I'm saying.
And that's kind of like what Guardians of the Galaxy were.
I think it's too comedy. It's too kooky. But if we got like
hard sci-fi.
Because his planet's still destroyed and he has no family.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I think, and what I would like the most for them to do is a straight up horror. Because like we've gotten, like you could argue like Werewolf by Night, but that was a TV movie. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness was a Sam Raimi-esque sort of campy horror
Also
style.
had team-up elements there.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think just a straight up horror movie, which there are a lot of characters that you could do, which we also saw in, New Mutants, was a like kids trapped in an insane asylum sort of fighting supernatural monsters, horror style. Another reason why I liked it. But it makes sense because horror is cheaper to produce than anything, especially if you're not. I mean, there are masters of horror that can do makeup effects and practical effects that you don't need CGI for.
And like, is the most obvious answer is he was just talking about Blade with this, right? Because that is a character that makes sense in kind of a solo.
Yeah.
You don't need 5 other Marvel characters.
But it's just a
Blade.
modern telling of Blade.
Well,
is that the new?
Blade is. I mean, you have a vampire hunter, like it's built in horror. It could also be Ghost Rider, which is like which is like elements of hell and this and that and dealing with demons. But like, to me, where they are right now, Jessica, you were the one who was saying like they're sort of in their supernatural era. That's the most logical place to go is horror. We've already seen a character that's a stand-in for the devil. Like we've already seen witchcraft. We've seen murderous witches.
And there's been rumors out there that they're trying to do another Doctor Strange movie.
Right.
Whatever form that would take.
Yeah.
That would align well with that.
Yeah.
I think they're still looking at the numbers because I think it would go direct to Disney Plus. Because all of their adjacent horror stuff has only come out to Disney Plus so far.
Yes.
Because it's been Moon Knight, it's been Ironheart, it's been Agatha, it's been a little WandaVision, it's been Werewolf by Night. It's been the only one is the Sam Raimi, but that was also originally not even going to be Sam Raimi. It was someone else, and then Sam Raimi got put on it and changed.
But every year there's like in the mainstream movie, there's like one horror movie that breaks through, and people are like, "We need our Megan."
You need
If you're multiple Sinners and then Weapons coming out, also might be another big hit, right?
And everyone is always shocked. Everyone's always like, "Wow, horror's back!" And it's like every year.
And like when that horror particularly is mixed with other genres, like obviously Sinners had all kinds of genres mixed in there. And like, a Marvel movie is never going to be pure horror. It's going to have superhero elements, which is another popular genre. Like, we also forget like that Doctor Strange movie post-COVID, I think was the most financially successful Marvel movie, other than Spider-Man, right?
Yeah.
Like,
it did well. It did really well.
I think it made $800-900 million.
The reviews were not that great, but it did the money.
It was very successful, and like some of that is like the spectacle of horror when you do demons and devils and magic and whatever. Like, the effects can be very cool. All the stuff they do with Wanda
I think
is really
if you
cool.
can rope in like Jordan or Zach Kreger or someone to write them, which I think is really hard to do when Marvel has a hand in creative pool to the script. I think Jordan and Zach Kreger are like, let me write my script and then I'll send it to you, and then they'll send it to Michael Waldron to edit. And that's where I'm afraid of.
Team of their team of 29 guys that they have.
I'm perfectly fine with them doing another Werewolf by Night, New Mutant style thing where it comes to select theaters and they're going for Emmys. Like, I'm like, go for that. I'm here for that. You guys can make you can bring the first Jurassic Park movie of fear practicals to these things, and he can win you awards. Maybe go that route. Do the award season approach and make that your horror movies. Do a supernatural. A supernatural series.
We're kind of getting short on time. I want to speed run a couple little bits, and we've got some fun comments here. He mentioned they can't touch Miles Morales until after the Spider-Verse films.
They're
complete.
not gonna lose it. Sony, that's Sony's money. That's their cash cow, dude.
And
They're
I
not
think
gonna let
the
go of
smart
that.
thing for Sony would do is like keep milking Tom Holland as long as he'll do it. And as soon as he gets too old or too tired to do,
Just slot.
then boom,
Yeah.
then you do a run of Miles movies,
Right.
live action.
Sony isn't. I'm sorry, you guys. Sony is not gonna let go of that. That's
No,
a crazy
for
thing.
sure.
That's a
It's all they
crazy-
have.
But
It's all
I
they
mean,
have.
I guess like in the way of when they start doing Miles movies, do they work with Marvel in the same way they've worked with?
This
him?
is all the money they have. Like this is their money.
Yeah.
This
We'll
is their
see if
money.
Sony even
think
still exists by then.
Disney's gonna have to buy them to get the rights to it.
I like the detail. Kevin Feige has a little less than 2 years left on his contract with Marvel, but he mentioned he wants to keep making giant movies, and there's not that many places you can go to make giant
you
movies.
can go
Yeah.
to Universal.
And so, like, I'm guessing that 7-year plan is like finishes Kevin Feige's current contract and then a new 5-year contract.
They're
and then
gonna
after that,
re-up
maybe
it.
it's retirement
Yeah,
time, or
yeah.
maybe it's go off
he
to
goes
Star
to
Wars.
Universal and he's like, I got a 7-year plan for Minions.
oh
Yeah,
my god.
He could be a Groot. Okay. I mean, this is a number we already knew, but he mentioned that from 2008 with the first Iron Man movie to 2019, right, with Endgame, they made 50 hours of screen time.
That's insane.
Since Endgame, which is only 6 years, they've made 102 hours just of
Yeah.
live action. It's 127 hours if you include animation. So in half the time, they've made double the content. And it's like, you can ramp up, but that is such an astronomical ramp up.
And just as like a big picture thing, I think I as soon as I read that, I was like, let me look up how DC was doing. From like Man of Steel to Flash, it's like over 35 a little bit. 35 plus hours. And then for the Sony Marvel movies, including the Miles Morales ones, is like almost 20. Not even. It's like 15 to 16.
Yeah, I mean,
that's insane.
It's too much to
That's
ask
a
for that
conglomerate.
money.
That's
Yeah, that's like there are entire studios that don't make that much content.
Star Wars is not even that number.
Just a real quick thing that came to my mind when he mentioned how much he loved the Fantastic Four as in a self-contained universe. I was like, do you think that means they end up back in their universe?
Which one?
So like
Fantastic
Fantastic Four. So after we know they're in Doomsday and Secret Wars, but do you think like after the events of Secret Wars, they head back to the 1960s Ted Gilbert show
I
universe?
unfortunately think they do, and that's like the sad part. Because if they're stuck here, who's going to protect their home?
Yeah.
From every trailer, we haven't seen the other heroes. We saw a little bit of Mole Man recently, but it's like they are the defenders.
And also, if they're
dead at the end of that movie, Jessica.
unless it dies. Yeah,
and if they stay in the 616, don't we lose a little bit about what's special about them? We think in this upcoming movie.
they need to go protect their
Yes.
828.
I think the next time we see a standalone Fantastic Four movie, they're back in the 60s.
Yeah, I think they're either back in their universe or a different universe that's separate from the rest of the MCU. Either they find one that's like, hey, this is a perfect dupe of our destroyed planet, but yeah, I do think bringing them into a universe where you're also just about to bring mutants and blah blah blah.
They have that. He has that portal that can look into different realities. So all it takes is Reed to just go through it. But then we get into it.
He has a line where he's like, I can go back anytime I want, but I'm gonna stay here for now.
X Sanch throwing in a super chat there on YouTube. Isn't Galactus a mutant? He could use the Avengers to turn the Earth against mutants and force Fantastic Four to choose a side.
That's not a bad idea. Do you think Galactus will move an inch to help or ruin anything?
He says, give me that baby, and I don't care about anybody
We
else.
talked about this on Sneak Peek. I was like, if Galactus shows up in Doomsday, they're gonna be like, hey, Galactus, we could do a lot if you just helped. And he's gonna be like, no.
But also, isn't Galactus technically like one of the sort of like celestial? Like, isn't
It depends
isn't
on what they're
that-
gonna harden that answer as, because
Yeah,
they had
I
this
don't
kind of
think
beef with
he's-
Ego. They had this beef with like Thanos and Ego. They have this beef all the
I
time.
think that they're sort of in the class that's not specifically the same as mutants. I could be wrong.
I truly think that once Marvel decides they'll do, because even if
Right.
you are right, watch
right,
Marvel
right.
change that
Yeah,
shit
yeah,
up.
yeah.
And then
We only have one Inhuman, right? It's Black Bolt, technically.
Yeah.
So it's like they can just change it.
Robert Ray sending in a super chat. Could you see the MCU shift plot lines from being physics-based to genetics biology-based stories with X-Men on the way? And who could show up then? Yeah, I think that kind of goes off of what you were saying earlier.
Really
Jessica.
quick, just to add to that, I think that was their plan with Secret Invasion, and then
Yeah.
it didn't work out.
Point.
Because there was
But
so
it was
much.
definitely their plan with the end of Ms. Marvel when he's like,
Oh,
you
yeah.
have a mutation.
Once Saber became a big part of it, once
Yeah.
Samuel Jackson got a bigger storyline, they were going to do biology based.
Yeah. And also that, to answer the second part of that question, that has a ton of hands in everything, because like once you get Professor Xavier in there, an expert in genetic mutations, that includes Spider-Man. He's not a mutant, but he is going through a mutation, and that's why the animated series crossed over, because Professor X was like, oh, you have your blood is mutating, we need to take care of this. It's also how you sort of get like, you know, Madam Web in there. Like they're all sort of tied to.
You keep trying to get Madam Web.
We're all just waiting for her to get back in.
Listen, give me that old crusty Madam Web.
I don't want that bitch smelling that teriyaki chicken.
I want that old Madam Web.
Just messing with that Pepsi can for days.
Give us when Melanie Griffith turns 80. Give us
A real Madam Web there. Okay. I think that's a nice place for us to wrap up.
I'm sorry, guys.
We've talked
Going
forever,
on
but this is great. We could keep going. Each one of these little nuggets of a quote, we could go off for 30 minutes.
And Eric has a breakdown of the full interview
coming out later
so
today.
If you want more of what Feige said and what it means, check that out.
And it's a crazy week here at New Rockstars. Starting, none of us have seen Fantastic Four, but some of us are seeing it very soon. The Breakroom is going to have kind of our official review show, as we've done recently for movies like Superman and Jurassic World Rebirth. On Friday, we'll do that live on YouTube and Twitch, and it'll be as a video on demand here on Friday.
On demand?
Video on demand?
I have to pay for it? Like
No, it means when you demand it and you click on it, it shows up.
Program your TiVos.
It's not pay-per-view, it's just on demand. We'll have that. Maybe also it's San Diego
VCRs.
Comic-Con week. Now it's kind of it's a
Potentially slow Comic-Con?
potentially a starvation diet Comic-Con.
Yeah, we're not sure. We don't know.
An Ozempic Comic-Con.
Yeah, it's an Ozempic Comic-Con. It's a flat-butted Comic-Con. Because nobody's doing big panels there. Feige might have done this interview because he knows he's not going to San Diego to say anything important. James Gunn will be at a Peacemaker panel that he's kind of teased. There'll be some good juicy stuff there, but we don't know if it's good juicy like in episode 2, something fun happens, or if it's juicy like we're going to tell you the next 5 movies or something.
To be fair, I did end up looking up that composer panel that's literally hosted by Michael Giacchino and his brother Mick Giacchino, and I was like, that looks like a great panel. There's gonna have the composer for the guy that does Avatar movies.
That is cool.
It's gonna be a great panel.
I mean,
So
there's
there's
still
good
plenty
things
of stuff
there.
to see.
It's
we
great.
just don't know if it's breakdown worthy.
Yeah, we don't know if it's like, oh shit, we got to go live right now, but we'll be ready if that does happen.
Yeah.
Okay? And that could be something that's at Comic-Con, or that could be studios also just love to release news or trailers this week. We've already gotten a couple interesting trailers. Predator Badlands. We're awaiting an Avatar Fire and Ash trailer. It's going to drop any day now. There's lots of cool stuff coming out. So we might go live again. You might not see us till Friday. We'll see. We'll be on high alert, but there's going to be so much good stuff coming on the New Rockstars channel in the next couple days, including all our big Fantastic Four coverage. So we're eating good.
Yeah.
We're all eating good.
In the neighborhood.
And we would love for you to dine with us. So make sure you're subscribed to all those places. Have your alerts on. Why not? Notification squad. Rise up. Okay.
Jessica's Thrones.
So without further ado, no further ado. Okay. Thank you all so much for watching. Bye.